DVR, let's get to your one true pick. You're feeling a little bit gambly here in week 12, my friend, riding with the, 17.5% of people that are on Eagles over Giants.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not a great week if you're looking for a big favorite because there aren't that many. Most of the matchups are very close, and for the bigger favorites, those are teams that we've generally all used in our pools, right? Sure, we would all love to use Dallas, but they are long gone for me and for most people out there. I think this comes down to the Giants being a truly bad team, and I've expressed a lot of concerns throughout this season about the Eagles and how good they really are. Their defense is proving it. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago on this show, I said I'm just not quite sold that they're an elite pass defense. They've played really well in the time since then. So egg on my face yet again. Yeah, Jason Garrett's out as offensive coordinator, but I think the limiting factors for the Giants are the personnel, right? And I think this is just the first step towards Joe Judge being replaced as head coach and Daniel Jones being pushed out as the starting quarterback. I think they're among the teams that are going to look for upgrades in both of those spots once we get to this offseason. So for me, there's always that concern when you're talking about two teams that know each other well, especially a divisional matchup where you're picking against the home team. That can backfire in a big way in Survivor. You can't get away from that by going with the Bears against the Lions, and then you got to rely on Andy Dalton.
Yes,
Like
you do.
I don't want to rely on Andy Dalton in week 12 of a Survivor pool, likely without Allen Robinson. It's just a bad situation almost everywhere you turn. And for me, there's just a little more confidence in the Eagles being better than the Bears right now with all the injuries the Bears have, and the Giants not being that much better than the Lions. Like the perception of those two teams is that the Giants are a lot better. I think the Giants are only slightly better. So you're not getting that much of an edge picking against the Lions this week. So that's where my head's at. I know I've been waffling on the Eagles for a long time, but yeah, like most of the people out there, like anyone who doesn't have the Cowboys available, the Eagles are the first pivot for me where I get to make that decision.
Before I go any further, let me just address something here. I totally forgot what my background looked like because I wasn't looking at the streaming screen. I was looking at our show rundown screen, and then I clicked over to the streaming screen, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm sitting on the ground with a bed behind me and some interesting artwork on the walls at my mother-in-law's house. We are in Cleveland visiting family for Thanksgiving, so that explains the setup. There you go. We make it work. We bring the Survivor picks to you no matter what, and DVR bringing to you Eagles over Giants. This just feels, I mean, like, let me, who else do you have available? Like, you don't have the Patriots, you don't have the Cowboys in this. So I see where you're going with the Eagles. No interest in like Bengals over Steelers. That's actually, I think, the next highest spread on the board. Bengals are 4.5-point favorites against the Steelers. That's the next biggest spread behind Cowboys and Patriots. No interest in going with that one?
No, the entire AFC North gives me heartburn now. Every time I start to feel good about something I see there, I am turned the other direction in a big way with like a double-digit blowout surprising loss. It is chaos in that division right now.
Yep.
The Steelers, they made that game against the Chargers look a lot closer than it really was on Sunday night. I mean, the fluky interception, the deflection interception late in that game, that could have been a double-digit win for the Chargers relatively easily, right? Like it
looked like it was going to be for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah. So I don't want to take too much of just the how that game played out and think, oh yeah, the Steelers are a little better than I thought. It's not like that at all. They still have a lot of injury issues. They're a flawed team. But I think for me, what it comes down to is also not having a ton of faith in the Eagles overall. Like I don't want to save them for later. I don't see any future must-save situations for them. I realize, like, at this point in the season, that's almost a total fool's errand anyway, because every single week could be the week that you win the whole thing.
Exactly.
But what's the leverage play? Like, what's the secondary play that I actually want, right? If I think everyone in the pool is going to be on the Eagles, I have to get away from them somehow. And I guess for me, if I had to go for a true leverage play, it's the Panthers.
Yeah, sure.
It's the Panthers over the Dolphins. Like the Bears over the Lions are the more comfortable pick. Like they're the true like second pick of the teams I have available. But if I'm trying to do the thing that's different than everybody else, expecting those other two games to be games that knock people out, I think the Panthers take care of business against the Dolphins. The Dolphins to me are not a good team. I think Cam with the Panthers makes them a much higher floor team, much more difficult team to deal with. A healthy Christian McCaffrey, as we talked about last week, makes them more difficult to deal with.
Yep.
Defensively, they can do some things that are going to cause some problems for Tua Tagovailoa. So I think there's a
Yep.
few things about the Panthers that I like in that spot. So for me, like they're the leverage play. If you don't feel good about the Eagles, if you don't feel good about the Bears, I think you can talk yourself pretty comfortably into the Panthers, and you're not dealing with some of those road dynamics with an interdivision or an
Mhm.
in-division game the way you are with both Bears Lions and Eagles Giants.
I'm in a fortunate spot in this pool and in the pool where I am playing for some money in that I have the Patriots over the Titans. I have that still as a available pick to me. I've not used the Patriots yet, and that's the direction I'm going to go here. I am not someone who is buying the are the Patriots the best team in the AFC? Bill Belichick doing it again, getting things going, defense and efficient quarterback in a run game can still win that way in the NFL. Not going down that road. Not into that narrative whatsoever. The narrative I am into, however, is that they're 6.5 point favorites playing at home against a Tennessee team that still doesn't really know what it is without Derrick Henry. I will say that last week they did get things going offensively in a way we hadn't seen without Derrick Henry. 420 yards of offense in their loss to the Texans. That was more than the two Derrick Henry-less wins combined. But I think we have to put a little bit of an asterisk next to that, excuse me, knowing that it was against the Houston Texans. And then Ryan Tannehill just turned into a turnover machine, which is something that we don't expect to see from Ryan Tannehill and shouldn't expect to see on Sunday, even though it's a much tougher defense that he's playing in New England. He's still not going to have Derrick Henry, though. He might not have A.J. Brown. And it's like, I mean, DVR, what does this offense do without Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown? I have no idea what it does. I mean, it's already been super ugly. And like, we're talking about Dontrell Hilliard and they release Adrian Peterson and Jeremy McNichols maybe gets back and Deontay Foreman and Nick Westbrook-Akine stepping up and Marcus Johnson getting hurt last week was a huge blow to that offense. Like that says a whole lot about where this offense is. So, I think if the Titans and Patriots were to meet 6 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now, whatever it might be in the playoffs, I will be all over the Titans in that spot, assuming that they are back to full health. But in this spot, with the way these two teams are currently constructed, the Patriots absolutely deserve to be 6.5 point favorites against them. I think this is a pretty this is not a pick without risk, but with where we are in survivor pools, if you have the Patriots left, I feel like you almost have to take the Patriots in what is a really tough week. I mean, even if you were starting from scratch and you had every single team available to you this week, this would be a tough week. If this were week 1, it would be hard to find a survivor that you really liked. And it's week 12. So if you have the Patriots available, it's hard for me to get away from them.
Yeah, actually, you should start a new pool for week 12. Make it a pick 2 pool because
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's going to make it out if they have to make 2 selections. If I
Yeah.
had the Patriots left, I would definitely use them. I think the difference in the spreads uh, really highlights it all. A big part of that is just New England being at home, but I think it also
Mhm.
speaks to how banged up Tennessee is. I don't have an answer to your question. Without Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, what do the Titans do on offense? Whole lot of nothing, probably. I mean, how are they going to run the ball effectively? How are they going to
Yeah.
move the ball through the
They
air?
haven't
Julio
without him.
Jones is still out too, right? So they're just woefully thin in that group of pass catchers. I don't think that's necessarily a knock on Ryan Tannehill. I think just
No.
about any quarterback in this situation would struggle to generate offense with this group. So while I would look at the Titans and completely agree with you, if they meet again, 6-7 weeks from now, early in the playoffs, and the Titans are healthy, I could see this being almost a pick 'em, even in New England. But
Mhm.
I think this is a reflection of just where these two teams are at right now, health wise, form wise, and that absolutely matters. So I am definitely disappointed I don't have the Patriots left because I feel like they're one of the easier picks to justify on the board here in week 12.